welcome back to another edition of Off-Season Points, and we have another underdog draft going on here at fantasypoints.com. If you want to get into this right now, we're going to do another one of those puppies here. The Puppy 3, it is filling up fast. Look at this, 223,000 entrants here right now, 78.4% filled. If you haven't got a chance to get into a puppy, you need to get into it now. If you're looking for a better reason to do it, make sure to use promo code FANTASYPTS, and you will get up to $100 matched up to 100% on that first deposit there. So first-time users, you got no more excuses to get in on this right now. So we're going to dive right into here, get a little bit of a best ball going on here. I'm going to enter because, hey, if I wait any longer, this thing might already be filled up, and I may be left in the dark here. So let's get this started here. Enter right now. And yes, sir, let's get going here. Where are we going to go? I don't know. I'm kind of one of those guys that kind of prefers to be kind of in the 3, 4, 5 range there because I want to get that nice pick there in the third round. Looks like I'll be picking from the 5th slot here. And it looks like there's a couple guys here who have got a little bit of best ball experience between Tyler 2121 and Top Dog here picking out of the 8th spot. So we are about to get kick started here shortly. It looks like about 40 seconds or so. So if you have an opportunity right now, check out fantasypoints.com. Check out the YouTube channel here right now as well. If you like your football in the morning, make sure you grab yourself a cup of Joe. That's Joe Dolan, I'm telling you right now, and the daily lineup there. One of the best shows right now for all your information right now, all the news and notes, especially during training camp. You're going to want to make sure you get in on that right now so you stay well ahead of those league mates that you're battling for those championships with. So when we're looking at this here right now, we look like about 10 seconds ago. We're about to kickstart here right away. Hopefully whoever I'm in here with isn't paying attention to what I'm doing because I'm going to probably start queuing people up here as I'm trying to talk and make these draft selections at the same time. If you get tired of me, make sure to jump into these questions here right now. Get in the comments. We are live here on Fantasy Points, and we are underway with Christian McCaffrey going at the 101, which we've seen him kind of gain a little bit more steam here on Jonathan Taylor, who seemed to be the consensus 1 and 2 picks overall. Justin Jefferson, like that at 103. Cooper Kupp at 104. And this sits me up here right now at 20 seconds here on the clock. I could go running back or I could go wide receiver. And the way I've been starting to build my rosters here right now is I've been really focusing on getting one of those big 7 wide receivers off the get-go and kind of filling that in with running backs in the 2nd and the 3rd rounds. We'll see if that pays off here in this particular best ball. After Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler, he's off the board. And Monkey Face 425 is now on the clock with about 20 seconds left. We're seeing a pretty even balance here through the first 7 picks here. 4 running backs, 3 wide receivers kind of off the board. And that doesn't really surprise me because when we're looking at these first couple rounds, it seems to be pretty balanced between wide receivers and running backs early and often, depending on how teams want to put those roster builds together. I'm almost guaranteed you're not going to see very many double wide receiver type drafts here, especially in this one in particular. But when we look at this, it looks like we got about 5 seconds left here on this next selection here. And so we got Derrick Henry coming off the board. Now, for me, Derrick Henry is one of those guys I am not big on. I'm a little bit more pessimistic. I'm talking about a guy with 5 screws in his foot, loaded boxes coming in there. I'd probably push him back to about the middle of the 2nd round if it was me. A.J. Brown no longer being in Tennessee, I think, really affects his value. Sure, volume's going to be there, but we've also seen yards after contact, yards kind of diminish here the last couple seasons. After Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, Stephon Diggs, Najee Harris, and now we're up here at the 112, 201 kind of turnaround here. And this is always interesting. Travis Kelce is off the board, followed by CeeDee Lamb, who, for me, in my rankings right now, he is my number 4 wideout in redraft. So I really like where you're getting CeeDee Lamb here. Start of the 2nd, sometimes middle of the 2nd. Devontae Adams is the next wide receiver off the board. So now we're looking at, when we look at the guys who are next up here, Saquon Barkley. Has there been anyone who's found themselves flying up these draft boards quicker than Saquon Barkley so far? We're talking about a guy just months ago, back in April, May, kind of in that ballpark, who was a 4th round value. He was a value in these best ball drafts. However, right now, that value is gone. We're talking about a guy going middle of the 2nd, sometimes early in the 2nd. I wouldn't be shocked if we keep seeing videos of him trucking defenders in training camp if he doesn't somehow find his way sliding into that 1st round conversation. After Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. Joe Mixon is one of those guys for me I am big on. Another one of those guys I'm higher on than the consensus. I got him up there in standard leagues, kind of in that RB2, RB3 range because I really like what the Cincinnati Bengals have done with this lineup. Fixing that offensive line means they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit better. Joe Burrow's going to be able to throw the ball a little bit more. We're going to see Joe Burrow not get sacked 51 times this season, which means more offensive plays. Now we've seen Kamara, Deebo Samuel, and I'm sitting here, and hey, look at this. There's Saquon Barkley sitting right there just waiting for me. But I got to give a little shout out here to Mr. John Hansen here. I'm going to make the horrific play here and grab Javonte Williams, maybe a little bit early, but he wasn't coming back to me. So I want to make sure I get that running back. And I'm not worried about these early conversations about him splitting touches with Melvin Gordon. Even if he splits touches with Melvin Gordon, we saw what he was able to do last season. 200 carries, dude put up like 1,300 yards, all-purpose scrimmage yards last season. I will take that here right now. After that guy, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, T. Higgins. Another one of those guys going here early in the third round, good value. He's probably one of those top 12 wide receivers as per the consensus rankings here. Nick Chubb next off the board. And then we're coming up here at 303, and we're going to have an interesting here. When we get up to myself, it's going to be a conversation about wide receivers versus running backs. We know I've already kind of gone with Javonte Williams. We know we've already selected Jamar Chase. Now we're sitting here, and we're looking at DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Jaylen Waddle. These are all kind of guys that are there. I'm not in love. It feels like we're already in the running back dead zone. So I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to go with A.J. Brown, put him with Jamar Chase. I really like how this is already shaping out here. Between what we've seen in camp here right now with Jalen Hurts and that chemistry that he's been developing with A.J. Brown early and often, it wouldn't surprise me if we see A.J. Brown easily with 140 targets this season. And with his ability to make plays after the catch when he's got that ball in his hands, that could end up in huge fantasy production moving forward. After A.J. Brown, we have Mike Williams coming off the clock, Cortland Sutton, and now we're sitting here waiting on Top Dog, who went running back with his first selection, and he is now up here next here. Looks like he went running back, tight end, and we're 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Here it comes, and it looks like he's going DJ Moore. So if I see if I can find. There we go. That might help there a little bit as we wait for my next selection. That is the board right now as we see. If you've been paying attention, after DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, he's now gone. Another wide receiver, I think, is Terry McLaurin's kind of one of those guys right now that feels like he's outside of the top 12 wide receivers, outside of the top 15 wide receivers as far as fantasy is concerned, that could somehow find himself into top 12, top 8 range when the season's all done. Yes, Carson Wentz is there. We can all make jokes about Carson Wentz all we want. The truth be told, Carson Wentz is probably the best quarterback that Terry McLaurin has ever played with. After McLaurin, Josh Allen, the first quarterback off the board. Kyle Pitts comes off the board as the next tight end. Allen Robinson. And now we're kind of sitting here waiting to see what's going on. So as we show you this board here, as you're taking a look at it, I'm going to pull up the other screen here just so I can make my next selection. Allen Robinson. Okay, so here we go. I'm kind of leaning here right now. I'm still a few picks away by the looks of it. Right now, when I'm looking at this board, Jaylen Waddle, Ezekiel Elliott, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Breece Hall. We've all seen the Mecca kind of injury there for the Jets. Kind of really, I don't want to say it diminishes Breece Hall's value, in my opinion, but it definitely doesn't help him there. Becton made that move to the right tackle this season. Big injury there for the Jets on that offensive line. I don't think we can discard that right now. We're watching these wide receivers come off the board. Allen Robinson, Gabriel Davis, Deontay Johnson, Jaylen Waddle. By the way, Jaylen Waddle is one of those guys I absolutely love. I actually have him above Tyreek Hill when it comes to my value because I really believe that Jaylen Waddle is that guy that's going to make a big difference in that Miami Dolphins offense. Unfortunately, my guy that just got passed by, I was kind of really hoping that I would see Ezekiel Elliott slide to me. So now I'm looking at what can I do here? And I got to go with one of my guys here. I know it's early, but I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks as my third wide receiver because Brandon Cooks is another one of those guys I feel could get 150 targets this season. Maybe he's a guy who's going to drop in drafts. Maybe you get him in the 6th, 7th round like you did back in April, May, June. But I don't think that's going to be happening much longer. When you look at the things that have happened, John Michie there, he's been injured or he's battled cancer there. That means less competition for those targets. And Brandon Cooks is already demanding a whole lot of target share to begin with. So I like that here as my wide receiver 3. Maybe a little bit early for some people's liking here in the 4th round. But hey, got to go get your guys, because if you don't get your guys, someone else certainly will. After that pick, we got Justin Herbert, Breece Hall, Jerry Jeudy, who I know a lot of people are high on, Juju Smith-Schuster. Really a bit of mixed bag here when it comes down to how people are selecting them. Juju Smith-Schuster, I've seen him as low as 56 on some rankings, and I've seen him as high as in top 15 rankings. So in this Chiefs offense, anything is possible. I'm not quite there. I prefer a guy like Sky Moore a little bit more than you would see there from Juju Smith-Schuster. Now we're looking at it here. I almost feel like I'm going to get shoehorned into the running back position here. You got some good players still there that I'm high on. Wide receiver. Hey, you know what? I may just got some tight ends available. A wide receiver, let's just keep up with the depth here. Grabbing my guys, getting my guys, and one of those guys happens to be Darnell Mooney. I'll grab another wide receiver. It doesn't matter to me. So with that selection, that gives me another guy that I know is going to get peppered for targets. Only Cole Komet is there in Chicago. It seems like every other wide receiver that ends up in Chicago has been getting injured lately. Latest here, David Moore, he's out now for a little while. I mean, it's number 2 wide receiver, maybe Equana St. Brown. I mean, that's where we're at with Chicago. Chicago may be desperate enough to trade for Preston Williams or even Jalen Reagor, by the way. So that's kind of where things are with Chicago at this point. Where we are at this point is we're at fantasypoints.com. And if you're new to Underdog here and if you want to get in on this, go over there right now and sign up today. Underdog will match you up to $100, 100% there on new first-time users there. You want to make sure you're getting in on that today. Now, with that all being said, let's keep a look at what we got here. Lamar Jackson, Darren Waller, J.K. Dobbins, D.K. Metcalf, Rashad Bateman. J.K. Dobbins is that dude. I'm telling you this right now. I love myself some J.K. Dobbins. Even if he's not 100%, I get it. But as the season wears on, he's going to be that guy. He's going to get that run there. I love Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is another one of my guys. I'll never slander Gus Edwards, but when you look at what J.K. Dobbins can do with the ball in his hands, last time we saw him, he was averaging 6 yards per carry. That is absolutely insane. Even if he is splitting touches there with Gus Edwards at some point, who, by the way, Gus Edwards, he's not quite ready to go yet. And J.K. Dobbins, he's now off the pup, ramping up here the next 4 weeks to get ready for week number 1. Another guy, Patrick Mahomes, Elijah Moore. I mean, he's another one of the favorites here over at Fantasy Points. And then Elijah Mitchell, one of my guys. Again, I was kind of hoping he would slide down here a little bit. I'm kind of finding myself in hero running back range right now. Look at what I've got here. Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney, and Javonte Williams. So we've got some 4 solid wide receivers there. And our running back, it's not looking so great right now. So I'm probably going to end up looking at guys here like David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson as my RB2s, which I'm okay with that. They're kind of in that ballpark range. They're all top 24 type options here. And we look at David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs in particular. These are guys that we always have somewhere in that 21 to 25 range as far as running backs are concerned. And each and every year, somehow, some way, when the dust all settles, these 2 running backs win the war of attrition. Somehow, some way, they avoid the injuries and they end up being top 12 to top 14 running backs every single year. Now, David Montgomery just came off the board. I feel like now is the time. I feel comfortable here with Josh Jacobs at this spot. Back end of the 6th round, I think is pretty good value for me, especially because I need that second running back. There's still some running backs here that I have my eye on here. Guys like Chase Edmonds, Rashawn Penny, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris are all guys I'm kind of eyeballing here, maybe a little bit later. Maybe I should turn my attention to tight end. Maybe not. Let's take a look at what is in the tight end spot here right now. As we've seen Josh Jacobs come off, Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, Dalton Schultz. So now we know where we are as far as that goes. If you look at the next up here as far as tight ends are concerned, we got Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Dawson Knox, Zach Ertz, Cole Komet still on the board. We're only in the 7th round. I feel good enough to leave this position a little bit longer right now. So I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to hold off on quarterback because, hey, I'm not big into this whole thing anyway. I know Trey Lance, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. They're all that tier that I feel comfortable enough as my QB1. So I'm going to keep focusing here at the running back position. I'm going to keep focusing at the wide receiver position. And we look at these combined rankings here right now. We got Adam Thielen, Devontae Smith, Kadarius Toney, and Antonio Gibson. I feel a little bit better about where the wide receivers are currently right now. I think there's a little bit more depth at the wide receiver position. So for me, I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson. I know. Hey, I know what everyone's saying right now. I know Brian Robinson. He's a guy I'm going to be targeting definitely on the back end of this draft. But Antonio Gibson still feels like a value here in the 7th round as far as I'm concerned. I think he's definitely better than some of these other options right now. Chase Edmonds was a guy I was kind of considering there, as well as Miles Sanders. But for some reason, the Eagles, they just seem to hate Miles Sanders. I don't know what. It's like everybody hates Chris. Well, everybody hates Miles Sanders in Philadelphia. Who they don't hate is Devonta Smith, who came after Antonio Gibson. Then Christian Kirk, one of my guys again. Christian Kirk is one of these guys that I think he's going to be a top 24 wide receiver when it's all said and done. And currently, I think he's going off at like wide receiver 40-something right now. That is a value right now. 7th round, 79th player overall, Christian Kirk. Now, next up, we're seeing some of these quarterbacks, the next few teams here, and this is important, have already selected quarterbacks. Top Dog, he's got his quarterback. Frank Shaw up there. Dylan Z, they've all got quarterbacks, so you kind of know that they're not going to grab those guys. These are all guys who are selecting ahead of me, so I can kind of pump the brakes on at least quarterback for at least one more round, maybe target a quarterback in the 9th round. The one thing I like about this is recently I've been listening to John Hansen talk about his draft plans here right now. One of those guys that he's consistently targeting later on in drafts is one of those guys I'm going to keep on looking at. We know there's value here at the quarterback position as it keeps going pushed down. Joe Burrow is a guy I would have absolutely loved to get. He's also on that list for John Hansen there. Jalen Hertz is a guy I would have loved to, but look at this. There's still some pretty good quarterbacks here in play. And I think that's one more round I feel comfortable with. Like I said, Kirk Cousins is kind of that cutoff where I feel, hey, this guy could be my QB1. After that, now we take a look at what we got going on. Tony Pollard, he's off the board. Hunter Renfrow, he's off the board. Dak Prescott, Treylon Burks, all off the board here as we enter the 8th round. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got some comments coming in. Yeah, I agree. That Quentin Fensky that kind of mentioned there. If you're watching, if you're following along, get in these comments right now because it helps me kind of read along, get involved here. Let's go. Let me know who you think I should be making selections for. If you see a guy here like, hey, you know what, Donnelly, that's the guy I think you need to select here right now. Get him. We got 2 slots left. Rashawn Petty. I know I kind of punted the quarterback position or the running back position early, but when I'm looking at this right now, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney. Great values there. I feel good about the wide receivers. At running back, Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, and Antonio Gibson is not a bad triplets to have. And now I'm sitting here and I'm looking Miles Sanders, Chase Edmonds. These are guys I think are good values here, still in play right now. I could go to the tight end position. I know I need a tight end here sooner than later, but I think I can still wait on a guy like Dawson Knox. So when we kind of look at here, I'm going to go a little bit PPR here. Go with Chase Edmonds as my RB4. So right now, I feel good from wide receiver 1 to 4 and then running back 1 to 4. I feel like I got a pretty good balanced lineup there. Got a lot of flex appeal in that system. A lot of guys who can help me out, especially catching the ball out of the backfield. We know what Chase Edmonds can do out of the backfield. He did it last year with James Conner. He's able to catch the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy who can catch 50 to 60 balls if he can stay healthy. And that's a caveat here. He has to stay healthy. So now I'm sitting here. Oh, man, I really want to go quarterback here. But guys like Russell Gage are staring right at me right now. Guys I really like. After Chase Edmonds was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, Ramondre Stevenson. So a little bit of a run came there in the back end of the 8th round. So if you didn't have your 3rd or 4th running back, you're probably going to find yourself in a little bit of trouble here looking for flex appeals, at least from the running back position. We know how volatile that running back position is year in, year out. Injuries happen. Everything goes down. So I want to make sure I got myself good 3-4 running backs early and then kind of get some pairings a little bit later, whether they're players from the same team or players with a little bit more upside. Let's look here. I don't know if I could pass up on tight end much longer here in the 9th round. I don't know if I could pass up on quarterback anymore. But when we're looking at this, I mean, I know a lot of people are scared from Matthew Stafford. I know a lot of people are unsure of what to expect from Derek Carr. I know Aaron Rodgers doesn't have weapons. So there's a good chance I'm probably going to grab 2 of these quarterbacks one way or the other here as we go on, even though it's a 1 QB type thing. But as I look at this, so we got options. I feel good we have options here right now. That's the biggest thing right now. Another guy there, when I talk about Chase Edmonds, I'm probably going to go and grab Sony Michel. He's one of my late round guys. I recently wrote a little article in a magazine, and Sony Michel was that guy I'm trying to get everywhere late in drafts because he's like the running back cockroach. He never seems to go away. So we're back on the clock. We're looking at the quarterbacks. We're looking at tight ends. I feel good about the tight ends for one more round. You know what? Elbow be damned. I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford here in the 9th round. And then probably in the 10th round, grab a tight end. In the 11th round, grab another quarterback just as insurance for Matthew Stafford. And that elbow is something where to go down. Right now, it sounds like the Rams kind of have him on a pitch count. He's taking things a little bit easier. I'm not worried yet. If this continues on through a few more preseason weeks, then I may start to get my neck, the hair on my neck may start to rise here. I might get a little bit more worried. After Matthew Stafford, Tyler Boyd, Derek Carr. There's one of my backup options now off the board as well. When I look at these backups, I said there's still some quarterbacks here that I think are good values. Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. These are players right now that could be QB1s and you feel comfortable with. After that, you got Justin Fields, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence. These are kind of quarterbacks that offer you some upside in what they are able to do. Are they going to be QB1s? I don't know, but they could have QB1 type weeks. Even Justin Fields, who struggles to throw the ball last season, it wouldn't be terrible to match him up with Darnell Mooney. He was still getting top 12 quarterback weeks there when he was able to run the ball. Anytime he averaged 8.5 carries per game, he was going to be a top 12 quarterback last season. And that is something we got to keep an eye on here when we're talking about these young quarterbacks, especially these mobile quarterbacks, that Konami code type quarterback. If Justin Fields can develop from year 1 to year 2, even though he lacks the weapons, he could put up fantasy production. Heck, it wasn't that long ago where we were talking about Tim Tebow as a fantasy option. Yeah, I'm that old. I remember Tim Tebow and having to use him from week to week. So there could be worse things out there. A little rundown now. TJ Hawkinson, Damian Harris, James Cook, Tyler Lockett. They've all kind of come off the board here recently. If we take a look here at the big board once again, if I can find it on here. There we go. So what we've seen here, we've got for the 9th round, we saw Russell Gage, Chase Claypool, Kareem Hunt, Robert Woods, Matthew Stafford, Tyler Boyd, Derek Carr, TJ Hawkinson, Damian Harris, James Cook, Tyler Lockett, all in the 9th round. Starting the 10th, Melvin Gordon, Dawson Knox. And now we are at the 112th selection here and waiting on something to go down. So let's just see what we got going here. And I'm still, when I look at the tight end position, Zach Ertz, great option. Cole Comet is a great option as well. I like Cole Comet. Zach Ertz are going to be guys who are going to see a lot of targets this season. And for me, Zach Ertz, I think his targets will start to diminish after week 6. So if you're in redraft right now, Zach Ertz is a guy I am making sure I grab, but I'm also looking at dealing him before week number 5 concludes. I want to make sure I get an opportunity to see if I can get some return of investment on him. So if I'm drafting Zach Ertz in even a redraft type league, I'm making sure to grab another tight end a little bit later, like an Irv Smith, like a Cole Komet, and seeing what kind of options I have out there to make a trade a little bit later. Because Zach Ertz is going to give you some good return of investment through the first 6 weeks until DeAndre Hopkins comes back from the PED suspension. One pick away here. It looks like Patterson went off the clock. I'm going to grab this tight end here right now. I'm going to grab Cole Komet because I think he's one of those guys who's going to see 90 to 110 targets, somewhere in that range. I don't think that's impossible to think that that's going to happen for him because it's him and Darnell Mooney. And I'm not worried about having Mooney and Komet on the same team. Maybe I'll get lucky, go for the triple stack, and get Justin Fields here a little bit later, unless someone here who's watching this show, who's in this draft right now, takes him on me. So what else we got looking at here? Aaron Rodgers, Spiller, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is an interesting one for me because I don't think we're giving Rashawn Penny enough respect out there. I mean, Penny did come off the board before he did in this draft, but it seems like everyone's forgetting what Rashawn Penny was able to do last season, and that was become one of the most efficient runners over the last 6 weeks of the season. The guy was putting up yards and scoring touchdowns in a Seattle Seahawks offense that wasn't very good. Either Geno Smith was under center or Russell Wilson, who was down one finger, was under center, and they needed Rashawn Penny to come into play, and he went in there and he absolutely balled out. So after that selection of Aaron Rodgers, saw Mecole Hardman come off board. Julio Jones is another one of those guys. I think this is an okay spot here in the 11th round. I've seen him kind of jump up a little bit higher than maybe what he should be. Joshua Palmer, another one of those guys I absolutely love. If you go into the Vipers channel there right now, you'll see he's one of my dynasty mustache type players. Rashad White, another one of those guys who's a Twitter darling right now. Fantastic player. I mean, Giovanni Bernard, he is a total for afterthought right now in Tampa Bay with White there. And hey, if Leonard Fournette's not paying attention, Leonard Fournette may be losing a lot more snaps than what we think right now. Now, Tummins there, he looks like he just timed out. Kirk Cousins is now off the board, which kind of brings us to this thing that we were just talking about. The quarterback position. You know what? You only live once, right? I really think I should go Tua Tagovailoa here. But with Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney, I'm going to go take a shot here with Justin Fields because, hey, let's see if we can get some of that double tap action from time to time there at the quarterback position. Let's get that stacks going on. Everyone loves stacks. Stacks upon stacks. Let's make it rain some stacks out there. Now, after Justin Fields, Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers. Can we please put some respect on Jacoby Myers' name? I'm looking here right in the camera right now. I'm just a fantasy manager talking to fantasy managers right now. Tell you we need to love Jacoby Myers a little bit more out there. You really worried about Devontae Parker? Are you really worried about Kendrick Bourne? By the way, Kendrick Bourne, fantastic player in his own right. Jacoby Myers led this team in targets, receptions. I mean, he did everything but score touchdowns. If he scores a few more touchdowns this season, he is one of those guys who's going to clearly outperform his ADP. Now, after Jacoby Myers, Darrell Henderson, Irv Smith Jr., Alexander Madison. Now, if we look at the board, my board here in particular, Matthew Stafford, Justin Fields, I feel comfortable with that 1-2 combination. I got a good steady quarterback there, and I got a lot of upside there as well. Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, Chase Edmonds, all feel very good about that. A couple of them there have the good PPR type upside there as far as catching the balls out of the backfield. Wide receivers, I mean, this is a great group of wide receivers. You got two studs there in Jamar Chase and A.J. Brown. And then you got two PPR guys who are each going to see probably 150 targets each this season in Brandon Cooks and Darnell Mooney. At tight end, Cole Kmet is that guy I got there. So I feel pretty good so far about how things are shaping up. Now, if we take a look, what's the best on the board? At the quarterback position, we just watched Kenny Galladay come off the board. But at the quarterback position, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Jameis Winston, Matt Ryan, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Mac Jones. Lots of options there for those who are looking for their second quarterback. Trevor Lawrence just came off the board right after Tyler Algier. At running back, we're looking at guys like Kenneth Gainwell, Ronald Jones, James Robinson, who was taking some reps with the first team here. And just because you're taking reps with the first team doesn't mean you're ready to join the first team. We watched the whole Cam Akers thing shape out last season. The explosion wasn't quite there what it once was. It's going to take some time for James Robinson, but at some point in this season, say week 8, week 9, you're going to see James Robinson start to take a little bit of that load off of Travis Etienne, especially running between the tackles. Maybe try and save Etienne a little bit more down the stretch there. So I think James Robinson is going to have some value a little bit later in the season, not so much early on. We're also at the point where guys like Khalil Herbert, Michael Carter, Tyrone Davis-Price, who everyone seemed to love, but right now, according to the depth charts, he's the 4th running back there in San Francisco. Jamal Williams. If you do not like Jamal Williams, there is something that may be seriously wrong with you, man. This is the most lovable dude in the entire National Football League, from Frozen to Mermaids to the hype there, to getting his teammates going. I mean, Jamal Williams is that guy. So I try to get him on all my rosters somewhere along the line. This is probably a little bit too early for me right now, but hey, I love myself some Jamal Williams. Wide receivers, Michael Gallup, he's coming off that ACL. Christian Watson seems to be dropping everything in sight there in Green Bay. But then again, hey, Jamar Chase was dropping everything last season in training camp. So maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't. Then you got KJ Osborne, Jarvis Landry, DJ Chark, Robbie Anderson, George Pickens. Those guys are all on the board. After Nyheim Hines just came off the board, another running back I absolutely love. Isaiah McKenzie, a guy who's been flying up draft boards. Jahan Dotson, Tua Tagovailoa, Michael Gallup, Christian Watson. Guys, I'm pretty confident there's people in my draft that are watching this show right now. So I'm sitting here right now. I'm looking at what I want to do. And I think I'm just going to take the safe, easy bet here. Grab that second tight end. Get Pat Freiermuth here. Another one of those guys who's going to be a top 12 tight end, because we know how volatile the running back position, but how ugly is the wasteland that is the tight end position end up every single year. He's some guy that we've never heard of, whether that's Dawson Knox last season, whether that's Logan Thomas the year before that. There's some tight end that rises from the ashes out of nowhere and absolutely comes out and balls out. And we're like, oh, yeah, we didn't see that coming. Well, you know what? I don't want to take that risk. Give me the Muth. Give me Cole Kmet. I feel good about my tight end situation. That all being said, now I'm done. I might grab another tight end a little bit later. A Brevin Jordan type guy, because, by the way, I love Brevin Jordan. He's another one of my dynasty mustache guys there. But I'm going to start focusing here a little bit more on the wide receiver, filling up this roster. filling up the running back position. Guys I love, I'm looking at right now, George Pickens. I'm looking for upside now. I feel comfortable with what I have in stock right here, right now, especially wide receivers. I'm looking for upside plays. And George Pickens just came off the board, followed by Michael Carter. It's a little bit earlier for me to go with Romeo Doubs here, or Doubs. I can't remember. I can never pronounce his name right anyway. Then again, I don't pronounce anyone's name right anyway. That includes my own children. So when we look at this here, I'm looking at this board. There's some guys I like, but I'm not in love with. Nico Collins, KJ Hamler, Romeo Doubs there. Romeo, we're out the Romeo. Paris Campbell. All wide receivers that I can definitely get myself taking a liking to. And then if I look at the running back position, Kenneth Gainwell. This is a guy that interests me a little bit here because I think that the Eagles don't necessarily like what they have in Miles Sanders. Whenever they give Miles Sanders an opportunity, he performs, he does well, but they don't seem to want to give him that opportunity. I'm going to take a shot here at Kenneth Gainwell here in the 13th round. So I feel comfortable with that. Right before Gainwell came off board, Albert O there in Denver, he was off. We talked about Michael Carter a little bit. Now we're on to pick number 150 of this draft. We are flying by. This has been a good group right now to start talking about. We're already in the 13th round out of 18 rounds. So if you're just tuning in right now, we are absolutely on a roll. If you want to get on a roll, if you want to try and win yourself some cash here on Underdog, use promo code FANTASYPTS, and they will give you an extra $100 at Underdog. If you deposit $100, they will match that first $100 100%. You don't have $100, that's fine. Put in 50, they'll give you 50. That is like 2 best ball drafts here. Best ball mania. Sign up today. You do not want to miss out on this. That said, let's keep on rolling here. Hunter Henry, KJ Hamler, Ronald Jones, all off the board. Matt Ryan. Now we got guys going for the second, third quarterbacks here. I've already got my 2 I feel comfortable with. Khalil Herbert. We're getting to that point now where I'm looking at running backs here. Gus Edwards, Marlon Mack, Brian Robinson, Jamal Williams. I'll probably punt that for one more round. I'll probably take a look at here at the wide receiver position. As I scroll through, you kind of take a look at what we're working with here a little bit. Jarvis Landry, consistent guy. Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson, Van Jefferson, who just had that knee injury there. Jamison Crowder, who probably is losing slots in the snap to Isaiah McKenzie. Marvin Jones, who's like 72 years old. Corey Davis, Donovan Peoples-Jones, William Fuller, Sammy Watkins, Kendrick Bourne, Curtis Samuel. So we're getting kind of the nitty-gritty here in the 14th round where wide receivers are starting to dry up a little bit. The tight ends are still looking not bad. Robert Tonyan, Tyler Higbee. If Higbee's still there, I may have a hard time passing up on him. I don't like the guy at all, but he does contribute in fantasy. And sometimes we got to kind of separate fantasy and reality a little bit here as far as our fantasy rosters are concerned. James Robinson, Gerald Everett, Paris Campbell, David Njoku all just came off the board here. I'm up here in 4 selections, and I still don't know where I'm going to go. So we could go tight end, like the options there. If we look at the big board, Jarvis Landry, Jameis Winston, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Watson, Robert Tonyan, Tyler Higbee. These are all guys that are kind of sitting there. Wan'Dale Robinson was kind of where I was leaning. He just went off. A little bit of the snipe going on there. I might go. I like what the Saints have going on there. I think Jameis Winston's going to be given a little bit more ability to do something there. Chris Olave, he's in the building. You got Michael Thomas there. And you've also got this guy named Jarvis Landry who can make things happen once he gets the ball in his hand. I feel good with him there. Another guy, a PPR kind of guy. I don't know what that role is going to look like in New Orleans this season, but I'm willing to take a risk saying he's going to be a good flex option, maybe a bye week filler at the wide receivers position. He's going to give you some good, consistent weeks. Nothing too big, but he's going to be consistent, and there's something to be said about consistency, right? I mean, I'm staying consistent. I'm talking throughout the show. We're staying consistent here all together. If you want to stay consistent, make sure to head to fantasypoints.com. Check out those projections. Check out those rankings. They got you covered. They got articles all over the place, and not to mention a pretty good draft guide out there that you want to make sure that you get your hands on. Now, speaking of getting your hands on, Jameson Crowder off the board. Brian Robinson, a guy I wanted to get my hands on. He just came off at 14-11. Tyler Higbee, that guy I was just talking about there, 14-12. We are now heading into the 15th round. We've done 14 rounds here in about 30 minutes. That's how fast we are flying through this thing. What else do we got going on? Raheem Mostert, he's off the board right now. That's a guy I am not drafting. I'm avoiding. I mean, he's like me. He's one sneeze away from having a back injury. I mean, that's where Raheem Mostert is right now. After that, Zamir White. I mean, dude looked good in week 0 of the preseason, the Hall of Fame game. Zamir White looked pretty good. What else we got going on here? Van Jefferson. I mean, I really should pay more attention to the actual draft here. What do we got going? I'm always a big proponent of getting your guys, so I'm going to hold off on Brevin Jordan a little bit longer. I mean, someone who's watching this right now. But hey, if I'm going to talk the talk, I'm going to walk the walk. I'm going to go get that guy right now, Jamal Williams. Let's add another running back to this stable here that I feel pretty good about. Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, Chase Edmonds, Kenneth Gainwell, Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is a great pairing back for DeAndre Swift. If DeAndre Swift misses time, you know Jamal Williams is going to be productive. Jamal Williams is pretty productive while Swift was in the lineup last season. They basically split carries. Swift got all the targets in the passing game, but Jamal Williams had I think he had the same amount of carries or close to what Swift had last season. So I don't mind Jamal Williams here in the 15th round as we keep going, but I'm probably done here at the running back position. I feel pretty good with the 6 running backs. I usually want to get about 6 running backs. 1, 2, 3, 7 wide receivers is usually I want to get 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends. I don't know if the math actually adds up to 18, but let's pretend it does. After Jamal Williams came off the board, Van Jefferson, Daryl 1L Williams there, he's off the board, Daniel Jones, and now we're sitting here at pick number Noah Fant. Now we're at 15-10. A guy, Frank Schropp there's got 1 quarterback, 5 running backs, 6 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. Pretty balanced there. I'm probably thinking maybe wide receiver. There's some options here, like Alex Smith. You want upside? He's the guy that's sitting there right now. Also, if you want a guy that maybe can stretch the field, maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones is the guy that give you some big weeks from time to time. If you need a guy for week number 1, Sammy Watkins is still sitting right there. Week 1, put him in. You're good to go. After that, I mean, I can't help you after that. So what we got going on now? We got I'm pretty confident. Is Dylan Z watching? Hey, Dylan, if you're in the chat here, just kind of raise your hand. Because I think that's for the 4th time that I've kind of mentioned a guy's name, and you've gone off there and grabbed him. So if you're in the chat right now, make sure to give you a little, put that hand up. Let me know what you're doing here. Quentin, I appreciate you're there. Make sure to check out everything I got going on there. At Matt Donnelly FF, and then it'll kind of lead you to where you want to go. Let's see what we got going here. I don't know if I can wait another round for Brevin Jordan. Brevin Jordan is just eyeing me here. He's just calling for me right now. He's one of those guys I think I could probably wait a little bit on. Hayden Hurst, Evan Ingram, Austin Hooper, Taysom Hill. These are all guys that are currently higher than Brevin Jordan in ADP. I mentioned the targets that Brandon Cooks is going to get. Sure, Nico Collins is going to probably get a few of those as well. But when it's all said and done, who else is going to get targets? Adam Sheehan? No. Adam Sheehan's basically there just to kind of carry Brevin Jordan's books to and from the tight end room there, right? Let's be honest. Adam Sheehan's not that guy. So when we look at the other options here, Corey Davis is a guy that kind of intrigues me a little bit. Curtis Samuel. I mean, last time he was actually healthy for a full season, he did some productive work there. That's the guy right there, David Bell. Now, I know I'm a little ways away, but David Bell is a guy that I'm also guy that can get the job done, especially underneath, and make some plays happen. So David Bell's a guy I've been targeting. Devin Duverne is an interesting name because we don't know where all these targets are going. We can assume that the Baltimore Ravens are going to get back to the run here in 2022, kind of kick it back to 2019 type season there. But there's still targets to be had. And Mark Andrews will get his. Rashad Bateman will pick up a good slack of that. But when it's all said and done, there's not a whole lot of other options there. James Proche there, he's a guy that gets them. So I'm going to go for a little bit of upside here. I'm going to go David Ball. I'm going to see if I can bump his ADP up a little bit while I'm at it. Plus, hey, when I watched him at Purdue, I mean, the guy got the job done. You can't argue about what his production was at Purdue. He went against some pretty good guys in his time there in the Big Ten. And everyone knew where Purdue was going with the ball. Everyone knew David Ball was going to get, or he was going to get the ball. Let's be honest. So having him there, David Bell, I think is a good value here, especially in the 16th round when you're shooting for upside, shooting for those guys that could pay off a little bit later on down the road. After that, we had Marlon Mack, Hayden Hurst, Zach Wilson, Ryan Tannehill. Quarterbacks are starting to come off a little bit quicker. Not like there's a whole heck of a lot there. Davis Mills is still there. Marcus Mariota, Mitch Trubisky. So I'm watching these quarterbacks kind of go off. If you I'm going to grab that third quarterback there just to make sure I got that locked up to kind of go a little bit later where I'm kind of hoping Brevin Jordan slides to me here in the next round. So I've already kind of got my idea where I want to go with the position here. So let's hold off here and hope that the tight end falls to me. If not, I know my quarterback's under control. I feel good about where my running backs are at. I've got my 6 running backs. I've got my 6 wide receivers. So I'm looking at the wide receivers. Guys I feel okay possibly drafting here. Corey Davis. Yes, Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore are going to be on the field a lot. But when it comes down to it, when the Jets get down in the red zone, Zach Wilson is still going to need a bigger target there, a boundary-type wide receiver. And that's what Corey Davis gives the Jets still. Corey Davis still has a role in this Jets offense. So he's a guy definitely take a look at here. Terrace Marshall is another guy who's been getting a lot of hype as far as training camp is going because basically he was everyone's the sleeper last season, except he completely slept through the whole season. So that was a kind of a bit of a problem. So here we are again. Terrace Marshall is a sleeper heading into the 2022 season. I don't know if that's going to work out, but hey, if you're shooting for upside, that's another target there to have, especially here in the 17th round. Next up, what do we got here? We got Prosh, I mentioned him earlier. Brian Edwards could be intriguing here this late. Brian Pringle is probably that guy that I'm probably targeting in this range here as well, 17th, 18th type round, because, again, we don't know what that's – I'm not going out to grab him. I mean, I already got Justin Fields. I've already got Darnell Mooney. I've already got Cole Kmet. It'd be kind of redundant for me to grab Byron Pringle here. But if you're a guy here looking at the 17th, 18th round, Pringle's a guy that you want to be targeting because when he was targeted on deep balls last season, he was one of the most passer-friendly wide receivers in the league. I mean, sure, some of that is on Patrick Mahomes targeting Byron Pringle there a little bit, but when it's all said and done, Byron Pringle, he can still play a little bit of ball. He's also dinged up a little bit here right now in camp too, so like every other Chicago Bears wide receiver. We have another timeout there, and Sammy Watkins. That's what you get for timing out right there. When you time out, you should be stuck with Sammy Watkins. I mean, there should be multiple copies of Sammy Watkins available, and if you time out, you automatically get a Sammy Watkins. What else we got going on here? We talked about Curtis Samuel, Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Jones, Randall Cobb. Those are kind of the best wide receivers still available. Jerick McKinnon, Dearness Johnson, Dante Foreman, Sony Michel, the guy there. So I'm looking at Brevin Jordan. I'm looking at Sony Michel as possible options. And then at tight end, Brevin Jordan, Cameron Brate, Logan Thomas. I may have Jonah Smith. Now, I was listening to a radio show with one of John Hansen here earlier on the season, and they were talking about the Patriots camp. Jonah Smith is catching everything right now. This is a team that's probably going to have both Hunter Henry and Jonah Smith on the field at the same time. And it wouldn't surprise me this year if Jonah Smith actually outproduces Hunter Henry. Smith was going through all kinds of things here last season. This could be that year that he makes a huge comeback here in the National Football League and kind of gets back to how the Tennessee Titans were using him prior to him signing that big free agent deal season ago. So we've seen Brevin Jordan just came off board after Kyle Phillips. So we've seen Sony Michel come off board. A couple of those guys I was kind of hopeful would fall back to me. I'm going to punt now the rest of this tight end position altogether because Cameron Brate, Logan Thomas, Kyle Rudolph, none of them speak to me right now. Curtis Samuel's interesting. Dearness Johnson, I don't know what's going on with the Kareem Hunt situation, but you know what? Late in the draft, this could be that guy that kind of gets you over the hump. We don't know what's going to all shake out there. If Kareem Hunt does get traded and Nick Chubb does get hurt, we know what Dearness Johnson can do. He came out and he absolutely balled out for the Browns last season. And in the 18th round, you're throwing darts and you're hoping to hit anything right now to win yourself a little bit of money. But hey, if you want to win money, you got to put a little bit of skin in the game. If you put a little bit of skin in the game, Underdog will match you 100% up to $100 by simply using promo code Fantasy PTS. Yes, that's FANTASY PTS. Fantasy PTS is that promo code that will get you that price match there up to $100. 100% of that will be covered. And then you'll be able to get in on these best ball drafts right now because we're hitting the season right now, and we are hitting it flying. We are in officially week 1 of the preseason. If you want to be ready for this season, head to fantasypoints.com right now. Finish watching this video, then head to fantasypoints.com, and you get everything right there. John Hansen, Wes Huber, Graham Barfield, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, Tom Broly, everyone right there. Some of the greatest articles in season stuff. And then you should see this team that they're assembling over there right now. Here at Fantasy Points, we are assembling one of the best teams you can put your money into, right? That's why we're getting that subscription right now at Fantasy Points. Hey, you want to subscribe? Use Vipers22. That'll get you a subscription, 10% off at the good old-fashioned fantasypoints.com. And with that all being said, I mean, look, DFS, best ball, it's all there. This team they're assembling is one of the best in all of fantasy sports right now. Get in on it right now. You want to score more? Fantasy Points is there to help you. With that being said, this has been another Underdog Best Ball Draft. I'm Matt Donnelly, and we'll see you next time.